I always find it intriguing to meet experts who teach every day about plants and see what they choose to put in their own gardens. So I've come to the little town of Emerald in the Dandenong Ranges. It's about 40 kilometres east of Melbourne to visit a garden created by plant educators John and Michelle Rayner. Hello.
Hi, Jane.
This is just a spectacular entrance.
Yes, we love the combination of the two plants. I mean, the silver of the eucalypts and the reddy, orangey colour of the cotinus.
Yes, and that's an unusual combination, isn't it?
Yeah, it is unusual. I mean, one's, an Australian plant, one's Mediterranean, but they both work well together in terms of the foliage colours. We have to hard prune them, though, every year.
Well, that's what this one, the purulenta, is all about, isn't it? It loves being coppiced.
Yeah, it responds really well to coppicing.
The cotinus is a great colour factor, isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful in autumn, so you get all those fiery colours. I love bringing things inside, putting them in vases, so the foliage works really well with that. And if there's nothing else, you've always got the eucalyptus leaves, and because they're juvenile, they look so beautiful, you know, those round discs.
The north-facing garden is nearly a hectare and slopes down from this lovely entrance to a series of very different areas. There's an orchard, wonderful mixed borders with perennials and succulents, and a productive kitchen garden. Right down the bottom, there's a steep wooded area and a fern gully.
So this is our espalier, Jane, where we grow our apples and pears.
Like a little mini orchard.
It is. Quite compact, and it's one of the few flat spots in our garden.
They look good, espalier, don't they? Why do you do that? Just for the sun?
Well, yeah, they get lots of sun from both angles. They're easy to manage, easy to maintain. We can easily net them. They're accessible and they've got lots of airflow, so you don't get so much disease.
We've got Red Delicious, snow apples, Pixie Crunch, Gravensteins.
And this is the snow apple.
These are snow apples or pomme de neige.
Pomme de neige, don't you love that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not often grown, but when you see it, can I pick one?
Yes, please, help yourself. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Reliably?
There's the white flesh.
Yeah, that's right.
Excuse me eating, but that's got a real crispness to it.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit tart, so it's certainly not floury. And a small apple is a good size.
Yeah.
Great for kids. Don't waste so much in the lunchbox.
John's a horticultural teacher at Melbourne University's Burnley campus, and Michelle teaches children about plants at a local primary school. Together, they bring a wealth of rich knowledge and experience to their garden. How did you come by this fantastic spot?
Well, we've been here just over 30 years now, but the first sort of 18 years we were caretakers for the Trust for Nature, who owned the property. And then we had the opportunity in 2008 to buy a small section of a hectare.
How lucky.
Yeah, it was really, really fortunate.
It was pretty much just an old farm, so it was just bare paddocks, and where there was vegetation, it was largely blackberries, ragwort, ivy.
Wow, you put in a fair bit of work into it then.
Yeah.
The garden is quite eccentric in some ways. We wanted a garden that had quite a wild feel to it and didn't appear too manicured. A lot of the work that I do in the garden really helps inform my professional work in teaching and researching plants, whether plants are growing well here or whether they need more water or whether they have problems with pests and diseases or nutrition. That helps to inform how I can teach those plants and where they can be used in other settings.
Teaching children, I've learnt lots from the students. Kids love colour, and I've brought more colour into the garden as a result.
I want to know about that tree too. That is the most amazing tree. That is so majestic, isn't it?
It's a beautiful tree, and particularly the rounded shape. Probably about almost 100-year-old. Quercus canariensis or Algerian oak, particularly in summer, I think, when you come down the driveway and it's nice to be home and to see that shade. It has enormous cooling.
It's a real treasure, isn't it?
Living under it is magnificent, but everything on there comes off, and that includes the acorns, the catkins, the leaves. So we collect them all and we store them all. And we use them for mulch.
There's probably 100 barrel loads of leaves that come off it. It's a 2 or 3 month job pretty well.
It is a big garden. How do you cope with it all?
In regards to the mechanics of gardening, I think we're very well matched because John is an avid digger and I love weeding, and not just any weeding, all weeding.
Oh, I always like looking at people's veggie gardens.
Yes.
Oh, look at it. With the zinnias and things, beautiful. Yeah.
Bit of colour.
What are the growing conditions like here?
Oh, the growing conditions are great. The Dandenongs have got terrific soils and climatic conditions for growing, which is why it's a big nursery and horticultural area. We get about 1,100 mils of rainfall a year. And the soils here are quite deep. They're not very fertile, but they're really well structured, so you can grow a lot.
Good for digging.
Good for digging, very good for digging. So this is one of our many borders in the garden. This one we established about 2 years ago.
Wow, things have grown well.
Yeah, they have.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so we've got a number of flowering perennials and grasses and some succulents around the front. That's a tall perennial sunflower called Helianthus salicifolia. And as you can see, it gets to 3 or 4 metres in height. It has a sort of a fairly well-contained clump, and it's a late summer perennial too, which is good because we want to have stuff that flowers in spring and then goes all
the
through
way through, yes.
All through the summer.
I love the grasses, that's really nice.
Yeah, the grasses are great. We use a lot of grasses here. We've probably got a dozen different forms of miscanthus. We also use a lot of calamagrostis.
Yeah, and it's nice to see, I see that you've got quite a lot of salvias around.
Yes, huge amounts of salvias. And again, I couldn't count the number of salvias, probably more than 40 or 50. My heart, I guess, lies in particularly cultivating groups of plants together. I'm really interested in how plant combinations work and how you can extend interest through things like texture or colour combinations. And that extends into my research work around naturalistic plantings, where we're looking for, low input, low maintenance plantings that work together as a plant community.
Wow, that really is steep down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it drops 60 metres from the road to the creek, so it falls quite a way.
I actually love going down into the fern gully. It's been a long project. We've had lots of weeds in that space for many, many years and thought that we would never be able to overcome that. But we've got on top of the blackberries and we've started planting some indigenous plants. There's lots of beautiful big tree ferns down there. It's cool and shady, and there's lots of tracks and traces of the nature in the area, which I really love. It's a long-term project, but we're pretty happy so far.
You like work, don't you, you two?
We do like work. We absolutely like work, which is just as well.
Yes.